So good morning again, and I want to thank everybody for being here. As you can see, the amazing support that we have from elected officials, from command staff, and all of our partners in public safety, not just in Abington Township, but at the state level and regional level. But I wanted to introduce, we have Congresswoman Madeline Dean here, longtime resident of Abington and the Glenside community. Commissioner DeBello, thank you for being here. Chief Tom Scott from Jenkintown, Deputy Chief Ed Quinn, and Deputy Chief Chris Porter from the Abington Township Police Department. We have Chris Platts is our fire marshal, and we have Deputy Chief Gerhard from Glenside Weldon Fire Company, Chief Mike Jones from Abington, and our emergency management coordinator, Tom McEnany. We also are happy to have the Vice President of our board here, Matt Dahey, who represents many of the members of the community who are impacted down there, along with Commissioner Spiegelman and Chair of our Public Safety, Commissioner Lori Schreiber, who is also a county official also. So again, I just wanted to, first of all, thank all of our volunteer firefighters once again. I don't think I can thank them enough. We know how bitter cold it was last night, and our firefighters were cooperating with our mutual aid group, other fire companies from outside the area that continued the fire suppression efforts all night. Thank God to keep that under control. So what happened yesterday, where at 10:30 we had a change in conditions with the horrible black smoke, and it caused us to, issue the shelter in place, reissue that the evacuation orders, all of those things. But I'm really happy to report that as of 11 a.m. this morning, we will be lifting the evacuation orders, and people will be allowed back into their homes, and the shelter in place will also be lifted. So that's good news, and that would not be possible without the great work of the folks behind us who are doing all the work, actually. Let me see. There's plans later on today to coordinate demolition efforts down there with our firefighters, and that's a difficult undertaking which will require engineers, not only from the county, but also from SPS and others. I do want to read this statement that was just issued by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, so if you'll indulge me here. Representatives of the Shapiro administration, including PEMA and the DEP, remain on site and are coordinating with the township and county responders. Governor Shapiro has been actively engaged with local authorities and remains in touch with the leaders in Abington Township, including our township manager, Chris Chrisman. DEP has conducted initial samplings of the Tookenny Creek. Low levels of chemicals of concern were found in the creek immediately downstream of the fire. There are no drinking water intakes from the Tookenny Creek area. The DEP will resample the creek later today. Samples taken from the Delaware River did not detect any chemicals of concern. At this time, drinking water supplies are not at risk. Philadelphia Water Department continues to monitor the creek and the river. Air quality monitors have not detected any chemicals of concern in the air. The DEP and the EPA will continue to monitor the air quality. That's all good news, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to share that with you. As you know, SEPTA traffic has resumed, and also we allowed the opening of Glenside, Jenkintown, and Noble train stations. A couple of things just to quickly update you on. The ATF and our Abington Fire Marshal's office will continue this investigation. They remain on scene, exploring what are the issues that, related to why this fire started. One other thing, we have been overwhelmed by the community support for our firefighters, our police officers, members of our community. It's nonstop dropping off food and desserts and cases of water. So on behalf of everybody up here, the township manager, our elected officials, our public safety professionals, not only here but countywide, I just want to thank the members of our community for their generosity. The numbers of pizzas and hoagies and cheesesteaks, it's been good. We're all putting on a few pounds, but we do appreciate that. We were asked, right now we don't see an immediate need from our residents asking for resources, but we do have a website set up. It's called Citizens and Police Together, CAPT. It's a long-standing community group that we've had with the police and the community that will help us identify people, needy families, people who need help within the community. So that's Citizens and Police Together. I'm not sure if we have that. I'll point to the website, but it's Citizens Police Together is the website. We also understand the frustration and that our residents are experiencing, with this ongoing orders to shelter in place, and we appreciate your patience and know that all of these decisions that we make are difficult decisions, but they're based as a result of a multidisciplinary group of leaders in the community and public safety professionals at the county level and federal level, all erring on the side of protecting our citizens. And so that's how we made those decisions. And our citizens here will remain our number one priority. I want to point over to the right here. We have a new website set up. So for our previous communications, our present communications, and our future communications, we are directing our citizens to go to www.abingtonpa.gov/SPS updates. And I want to thank our assistant manager for setting this up. This should streamline communications. And one final thing before I turn this over to Chief Scott from Jenkintown and our fire marshal. I want everyone to take some time to sign up for readymonco.org. That is a website that you can get such valuable information. And I know that we have many elected officials here. We know how important information is, getting it out timely to our residents, and specifically, in this case, to the Abington, Jenkintown community who have been impacted by this tragedy.
Thank you again. We really appreciate all the support that we've gotten from the community. Most importantly, I want to talk about our law enforcement partners. We initiated a mutual aid response yesterday, not once but twice. Once was because of the immediate impact for the rekindle or reflash of the fire. At that point, we're in the process of trying to protect the community, so that's why we had a large contingent of law enforcement come into the borough to basically shut down traffic flow into the area where we believe the smoke was impacting. That was the reason why that occurred. The second was to deal with the evacuation site. Last night, we had mutual aid response come in from Montgomery County to help in securing that area, to make sure that those homes were secure throughout the evening into this morning. Obviously, this shelter in place and evacuation was a big impact to our community. We wanted to make sure that we did it right, and we believe with all the information we've received from the EPA, the DEP, and our hazmat teams, we are making the right decision today to lift that shelter in place. Along those same lines, Jenkintown School District has been closed for the last 2 days. We are going to be working to get that building cleared today with the help of EPA and the hazmat team from Delaware County and other county officials to clear the building, to make sure that that building will be able to be inhabited within the near future. We're going to be continuing to monitor the community that was impacted throughout the immediate days and weeks. And obviously, as already been talked about from Chief Lloyd, the plan is that this monitoring will not stop in any shape or form for at least weeks or months from now. This is going to be a long-term operation for not only the Abington community, but the Jenkintown community and the Cheltenham Township. All three of those municipalities are impacted because, if you can imagine, all three are within that very close proximity. So the plan is to make sure that we are monitoring around the initial site and also into those three communities. Just to give you a heads up, Jenkintown Borough office had to be closed for the last day. We are open today, and we are there to resume normal operations for the immediate future. But this does not mean that we're not going to be ready if any issues change in the conditions at the site. So we are prepared for that, and we want to make sure that the community knows that this lifting of the shelter in place does not mean that it could not happen again if this incident was to reinitiate a fire or anything like that. But I think with the partnerships that we have here, we are working really hard to make sure that we do this right in how we manage the scene now and then manage it into the future. And I can't thank enough the partnerships from the federal community, the EPA, and the DEP that have been in the command post throughout this operation, along with all the county resources from the hazmat community and also their emergency management community. So we are working forward and moving forward with the intent, as Chief Malloy has already said, to keep this community safe. So I appreciate you coming out this morning. I'm really happy that we announced this lifting of the shelter in place.
So just an update on the investigation. The investigation is still in its infancy right now. We are working with the ATF as well as neighboring fire marshals from the community to evaluate where we begin here. It's a unique case for us. This is not an everyday thing. It's also a large incident. The building is over 600,000 square feet, so it's something that we are going to have to take piece by piece. So right now we are evaluating where to start and where to begin, how to make progress forward. It's going to be a long process. I wish I had some answers, but again, we are very, very much in the infancy phase. And we really don't start our job when it comes down to digging into it and figuring out the nitty-gritty as to where we started until the suppression efforts end. So our suppression crews have been on scene nonstop, crews from Montgomery County, Chester County, Bucks, Delco, all throughout the area, and we are immensely supportive of that. They've been there throughout the entire night, freezing. When I got there this morning, I saw them shivering. It's something that we are extremely appreciative of what they're doing. And just for clarification, throughout the whole incident, SPS has been by our side. They are obviously a community staple in this area. They've been here for decades, I believe over a century, in some form or fashion. So we are extremely supportive. The night of the incident, I reached out to SPS and had a contact on site, my usual contacts, within just a few minutes. And they've been at our command post, they've been with us the whole time and been nothing but supportive. They understand the impact this makes on not only the community, but the residents, the employees, their jobs. And it's been great to work with them as we figure out how to move forward from here. So I wish I had more answers on the investigation side of things, but it's still very, very early on. That's where that stands. I'll turn it back over to Chief Malloy.
So I think we have some time to entertain some questions. Just to reiterate, when you see the support of our elected officials here at the federal, state, and local level, this is why government works so well, with the investment and the trust that the community puts in us. So I just want to thank everybody again for being here. I don't know, Congresswoman, if you would like to say anything before we answer some questions. But I just wanted to...
Thank you, Chief Malloy. I'm Madeline Dean, Congresswoman for the 4th Congressional District, but I'm also a girl of Glenside. I grew up in Glenside. SPS is a staple, an employer for more than 100 years in this area. My own father-in-law worked there during the World War II effort. Generations of Glenside folks have worked there. So, number one, I'm here to say thank you to the first responders, to the firefighters. Remember, this was, I think, more than 60 fire departments came, largely volunteer. Remember what that means, putting themselves at risk for our health and safety, protection of life, protection of property. So number one, just an extraordinary shout out to the firefighters. To the first responders you see here represented, and of course it's dozens and dozens more. Our community is so doggone proud of everything you have done to protect life and safety. And I'm really pleased to be here because, as the chief said, what matters is that we do this together. First to protect life and to get the 60 people who were working there out of the building, but then to protect property, to minimize the scope of this devastating fire, a total loss apparently of this building. But then the important work going on in terms of health and safety for our residents, air quality, water quality. So I'm pleased to be here as a representative of the federal government, ATF and EPA here as a part of that effort, DEP here on the state, the county is here, and so I'm just delighted to be here. But this is an ongoing, very, very serious situation. And it is our responsibility to work together to make sure that we protect the health, life, property of our citizens. I couldn't be prouder of this group. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Montgomery County Commissioner Tom DeBello, and I too want to just reiterate what Congresswoman Madeline Dean mentioned, is that we've had the support and throughout Montgomery County, throughout the neighboring counties, has been incredible. We've been, the county's been on site since the beginning of this. We will continue to be on site. We have teams here. We have our emergency management team. We have our hazmat teams. We're working very closely with our neighboring counties as well. I mean, the support's been incredible. I want to thank all of the volunteers that have been out here fighting this fire. I was out here yesterday. I stopped down there. I even saw, I live in Limerick Township, and I saw our Limerick Township Fire Department was down here helping, and that's just incredible to see that there were 65 plus apparatuses throughout Montgomery County and surrounding counties that were here. And we're going to continue to do, as a county perspective, we're going to continue to do everything we can to be extremely supportive of this very misunfortunate situation. But I want to just throw out there that everyone is working extremely hard, and I know as residents that it's very tough when this situation happens, but please keep in mind that these teams are working for you. They're working extremely hard, and they're going to be here for weeks or months potentially, and continue to be supportive and answer all your questions. So again, thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for all your efforts. Thank you.
Okay, we still have a few minutes for some questions. One thing I failed to mention, do you have a question?
I'll let you speak first. It's your house.
Now, we talked earlier about, we're lifting the order at 11 o'clock. So as cops, we're like, okay, let's get this open. But our fire and emergency management folks keep us in line, saying we need an infrastructure and a plan of support to make sure that we have people there to help assist with the reentry concerns or other questions that might come up. So that's why we're waiting until 11 o'clock. Our folks at the county and our fire marshal, emergency management people, and fire chiefs are working on that. So, all right, any questions?
So with the order lifted, does that mean the fire is officially suppressed, or is there still ongoing efforts?
The fire is not officially suppressed. All of the readings that the DEP and the EPA and our hazmat folks took are indicating zero particles, saying that the air quality is safe. The plan is to continue to fight the fire using structural engineers and other apparatus, a demolition crew. But the number of hours that our firefighters have been out there, they're unrelenting. So they're confident that they're going to keep this under control. Like Chief Scott said, there could be another flare-up, and if that is the case, we will make sure that we reissue any orders to evacuate or shelter in place.
I have a couple of questions for Congresswoman.
Yeah.
One, we've talked about, and I'm watching the social media, the folks that work at this company concerned about keeping it here, rebuilding efforts. That's one question, and then I have another for you as well. What do you do here to make sure that they don't say, okay, we've lost everything, we can pack up and go?
I thank you for that question. That's something that is a grave concern of mine. As I said, I was born and raised here. These are really important jobs. And this industry is very important nationally for aviation, national security, and other issues. So I'm going to be a part of a voice that says, let's make sure we encourage SPS Technologies to rebuild here, to make sure we re-employ those who have grievously lost their employment here. We're going to do everything we can. As you know, we're heading into the end of what should be budget season. I'm going to fight. I'm a member of Appropriations Committee, newly this term. I'm going to fight to see whatever resources we can get to make sure SPS and the jobs stay here if it is at all possible. And I think with partners like this, we're going to be able to do it.
And also, Commissioner, if you want to weigh in on this next one. So we are a state that relies heavily on volunteer services,
Yes.
whether it is EMTs, it is firefighters. These people went into this building and stood out there all night, and they don't get paid. But we are also a state that is having a volunteer crisis. So what is being done on the state level to retain? I know probably each one of us have done stories on the lack of volunteerism because it's just simply something that's not sustainable. So what do you do now to make sure that we have these firefighters in an incident like this if it happens in the future?
I thank you for that question too, because I can't tell you how I admire, and that's why I started with thanks to the largely 98% volunteer firefighting force that was here on site. the largest fire that I would think in this area has ever suffered, and no one injured. It is remarkable. As you say, resources are scarce. So when I was a state representative for 6.5 years, I fought for resources to make sure there are programs to encourage the recruitment of more and more volunteer firefighters. I do that also at the federal level. So number one, just a thank you. I have somebody on my own team who was here the first night for many, many hours. We need to recruit more. Fortunately, this area is rich in firefighters. My husband's family's team has been a part of Weldon Fire Company for a very, very long time. There's a legacy about volunteer firefighting that we have to continue in the family line, but also to get out to more and more young people. I also want to recognize that more and more women are getting into volunteer firefighting. So we're going to do what we can at the federal level. I know that my partners at the state and county level are going to do the same, but those are two really important questions. Let's keep the jobs and increase our forces.
Earlier it was.
Yeah, because the county has also passed the property tax, and is it working? Are we getting more volunteers to be able to do something?
Well, so that's two great questions. One is, as mentioned, that from the federal standpoint, we want to do is see what kind of funding we can get to make sure that they stay here. And our Commerce Department, the County Commerce Department, is also heavily involved, and we're going to do everything possible from a county perspective to keep them here, even if it's location, to help if there's different locations or rebuilding, whatever we can from our Commerce Department. We want to keep them here in Abington, and we're going to do everything we can. As far as volunteers, look, it's a great question. We do have a shortage, but from a county perspective, we're doing everything we can to support all the local fire departments, helping them in their efforts to recruit more volunteers. And one of the things that we did in Montgomery County is we actually gave a tax rebate to our EMS and fire and police that they have access to. So we're trying to do different programs to help these volunteers because we desperately need them. And I always say this, when a fire happens, people run away, and our volunteer firefighters are running towards it. So we need to be very supportive, and we're going to continue our efforts to support whatever we can with the fire departments in building and getting more volunteers. But we hope that at least the first thing big thing that we did last year was put this tax rebate in place for them.
Chief, you had mentioned that a chemical had leaked into Tookanee Creek. What chemical is that?
I don't recall saying a chemical. I recall us, the environmental protection from the DEP are monitoring water runoff that goes down into the Tookanee Creek. So I don't know what specific chemical they're looking at. Do we have an answer for that? I just think when they do these evaluations, it's just for all harmful chemicals. The statement that I read earlier addressed that. As of right now, there are nothing detected as harmful chemicals that we should be concerned about.
Low-level chemicals in the creek, no chemicals detected in Delaware River?
I don't know the answer to that.
That's what he said.
There's some viewers that are that sent us a message. They said that they found some debris in their backyard, and so they want to know what they should do and who they're worried that, maybe hazardous. Who do they call to?
Yeah, thank you for that. The question was, some viewers found debris related to the fire in their backyard. We are recommending, after talking to the fire companies, and to call 911. Someone from our fire company or the police department will come out there and collect that and take that off their property. We don't want them to handle that or touch it. Out of an abundance of caution, please just call us and we'll handle that. 911. Thank you.
Chief, could you talk a little bit about the fire suppression efforts moving forward now? It's day 3 of fighting this fire. What is going to be done differently over the next few hours? What can people, as they return to their homes so close to that warehouse, expect to see? Construction for demolition, possibly?
Yes, and thank you for that question. The intricacies of fighting this fire is the question, and it's already been a couple days. We're going into the 3rd day. I'm going to turn it over to a real firefighter. Any one of you guys.
I don't know about real firefighter, but I'll take it while I can. So we're in the planning stages, obviously. So there are some hot spots. It is an active incident still, but we're down to hot spots and things like that. Similar to yesterday, where because of the immense size of the building, the master stream still can't get to some of the spots. So it's going to involve demolition crews working in coordination with our fire department as well as hazmat, EPA, DEP, in order to, as they made, the demolition crew makes entry, then the environmental folks check to make sure it's safe, then the fire folks go in, and so it is going to be an incremental effort. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be instantaneous. We're in the very, very beginning of the planning stage of that, because it is such a large building. It's a series of old buildings. Some of them date back over 100 years. So we have structural engineers. They were en route as when we left the scene. So that will be the first phase, and then working forward. So it's going to be a work in progress, and that's why the importance of the air monitoring in the perimeter around the site, as well as into the neighborhoods that surround the area, because as we make progress, if conditions change due to disturbances made as we're either moving debris or fighting the hot spots, we will make those decisions as we move forward.
Decisions as to whether to enact another shelter in place or evacuation.
Exactly, and we will put that information out as soon as possible, with the appropriate recommendations from our partners in hazmat, DEP, all the environmental folks that are the true experts in that area.
And considering the multi-tiered coordinated effort you just outlined, obviously it will take more than hours. Are you thinking days? Are you thinking upwards of a week? Just so we can tell people who are coming back in.
So as far as the folks that are coming back, it's going to be a long-term operation. Days, weeks, as we transition, eventually it will be more of a cleanup effort on SPS's part, working with their contractors, with our experts and the DEP, all those experts kind of overwatching to make sure things are being done properly. It will transition away from a fire incident to more of a cleanup incident. And as far as putting a timeline on that, I can't really put a timeline on that. That's at least several days, and then their ongoing demolition efforts and cleanup, I couldn't estimate it, but it's got to be weeks, if not longer.
Is there any indication that this is a chemical fire? And if that were the case, are there different protocols than fighting a regular fire?
As far as a chemical, it's the way we were dispatched, it was treated as if it was any other structure fire, where in this we knew there are different product on site based on, we have a long-standing training partnership with SPS to understand what's going on in there. As far as whether it affected our tactics, it didn't affect our tactics as to putting water on the fire. It affected maybe some of our tactics as to where we focused our efforts. For instance, yesterday we talked about the one part of the building that a large majority of those chemicals are stored. We focused on, a large portion of our efforts to ensure that was protected, so that there was no sort of release of those chemicals.
What are some of the biggest questions and concerns you're hearing from community members as you prepare to transition them back in, and how are you prepared to answer some of those?
I will punt that one to Chief Malloy, because I haven't been answering emails for a couple days.
Yeah. I just want to go back to the question about the water contamination. I apologize. I get nervous when people ask me about specific chemicals. I challenged with chemistry classes back in trauma. But the Department of Environmental Protection is creating a website now where they're going to release all of those results, the ongoing testing. So I would refer you to that. They don't have it up yet. They're building it according to my source. So I just want you guys to have that answer before we try to wrap this up. Well, the question, the ongoing concerns.
What are you hearing? Yeah, what are you hearing personally from?
Like I put it in perspective of my daughter-in-law, my grandchildren who live in the community and are calling, when is it safe to go back in the house? And when I go into the house, what contaminants do I need to be worried about? What about my water? Are it safe for the kids to drink the water? And because we're working with the EPA and the Department of Environmental Protection and our experts from the county hazmat team, we're trying to put all that information on our own website, link it to the EPA's website, and just as you have seen, every 2 hours we're trying to provide an update, and we're going to do it through the new website that we just created. I would just tell people to go to that website. We are here. We have a very quick response time, whether it's a police officer showing up, or our firefighters, or hazmat, partners. We're here to sit. We have had no concerns about safety, looting. A couple questions came in like that, but it's not happening here in Abington or in Jacobtown because we have everybody coming to help us. So we have enough police personnel. I know our fire personnel are tired, but we have reinforcements coming in. So to answer your question, I think it's the environmental concern. How can I keep my family safe from these chemicals and also from any kind of looters, et cetera. Yep. So we're going to wrap this up now. I'm getting the sign. So I just wanted to thank everybody for all the questions, and all of our partners and the support that we have had from the state, local, and federal county, and our PIO from the county, Todd. You're the best. Thank you.